Welcome to Meet the Candidates, a League of Women Voters Anoka Blaine Coon Rapids forum for candidates running for the Nowthen City Council. Let's note that Council Member Jason Alders is not running this year. Thank you for your service. Candidate Steve Schmidt informed us this morning that he will not be able to attend this forum. But thank you to the candidates who are present: Mary Rainville, Ken Glazer, and Cheryl Mady Olson. And thank you to the City of Nowthen for inviting our organization and for helping to make this event possible. This year, the League of Women Voters is generally holding our Meet the Candidates forums without an audience to provide a safe environment for the participants. This is being recorded for broadcast by the City of Nowthen as you do your voting preparations. No parts of the recording may be used for candidate purposes, but the entirety of tonight's forum will be available from the city and from the League of Women Voters ABC at its website, www.lwvabcmn.org, or on its YouTube page. All right, I'm Wes Falconet, a member of the League of Women Voters ABC group, and I'm your neighbor. I am a resident of Andover, which means I do not have a vote in this city council position. Also, the League of Women Voters does not support or oppose any political parties or specific candidates for office. The League does, however, help citizens become informed voters and advocates for important issues. That's what this forum is about, informing voters. If you're interested in the League, please visit our webpage, again at lwvabcmn.org. Persons of all genders, 16 years and older, are invited to join our organization. Now let's talk about tonight's forum. We will open with 2 questions we sent each candidate. I will direct those 2 90-second introductory questions to the candidates before moving on to questions we received from the public and those which we prepared for this forum. We will end with the candidates' closing statements. Answers to both the submitted questions and the closing statements are limited to 1 minute, except as noted. We should note for those of you watching, we drew straws, so to speak, at the beginning before we started recording, and it was determined that Cheryl Mady Olson, for our purposes here, is person number 1, Mary Rainville is person number 2, and Ken Glazer is person number 3, which means when we work through a serpentine order, on the first question we go 1, 2, 3, and then the next question we will start with Mary, go to Ken, and finish up with Cheryl. We will work our way throughout the evening in that manner. I'm going to head back over to my seat, and we will start with the first question, which will be directed to Cheryl Olson. Cheryl, what is your motivation to run for the... Cheryl, what is your motivation to run for this office? And what experience or knowledge would help you to serve effectively?
Well, I wanted to serve my community. I'm a delegate for CD6, and I've been endorsed by them. I've been a head election judge, but had to relinquish that due to being on the ballot. But I enjoyed it. I still want to be involved, so I'm going to be a poll watcher in a different district. I want to bring a fiscally conservative viewpoint to Nowthen, so that they keep Nowthen rural and with low taxes. How I want my background: I'm a billing field specialist for Connexus Energy for 24 years. I've owned my own photography business for 25, And my family, we've owned a bowling business, Matey's Bowl in Columbia Heights, for over 35 years. My husband, I've worked there for many years, since I was 12 years old. My husband and I own a small trucking company in Nowthen for over 27 years, and we lived in Nowthen for 29 years. And I've been married for 38 years. We have 4 children and then 3 grandchildren. So I really would like to serve Nowthen.
Thank you, and we direct the same question to Mary Rainville. What is your motivation to run for this office, and what experience or knowledge would help you to serve effectively?
Good evening. My name is Mary Rainville, and I'm running for a re-election to the Nowthen City Council. First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum tonight. It's important that we are able to provide this information to our residents. My husband, Scott Babcock, and I have been 20-year residents of Nowthen, and we treasure our time here. Why do I want to serve? My parents taught us to be involved in the community, and I'm proud of my service to Nowthen and would like to continue that. I feel I bring a positive presence and solid ideas to the council, and I always strive to keep the residents' input in the forefront when making my decisions. I'd like to continue the opportunity to work, the opportunity to continue the work I've been part of, working on the adoption of our city's road and capital improvement plans. Council's previous budgeting efforts resulted in Nowthen getting a AA+ credit rating, which is very unique to a small town, and it's important that we keep that. This means lower interest rates if we have to bond. Professionally, I retired from the Minneapolis Police Department, serving in numerous administrative roles, including administrative assistant to the chief. Prior to that, I worked for a small concrete company doing basically everything. I laid concrete, I finished it, I did all the administrative work. And then I also worked for Northwestern Bell, which is now CenturyLink. My community involvement, which has helped, excuse me, that's fine.
Thank you, Mary. Ken Glazer, same opening question to you. What is your motivation to run for this office, and what experience or knowledge would help you to serve effectively?
Good evening. My name is Ken Glazer. I'm running for the office of Nowthen City Council. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for creating this opportunity for us to present who we are and why we want to serve the city of Nowthen. I am an 18-year resident of the city of Nowthen, along with my wife, Paula Coffey, and our children. I came to Minnesota in 1997, spent almost 20 years in the energy and construction field as a project manager. I spent 2 years at Coon Rapids High School teaching industrial tech classes to all 9th through 12th grade. And since the year 2020, I have been in business for myself. I build agricultural fence. In 2020, both Paul and I decided that we wanted to get more involved in politics, and that started at more at the state level. And through that experience in 2020, we continued on both as delegates locally and then also at the state convention this last year. And then we decided that, to really make an impact, we wanted to get involved in local politics, and that started with here at Nowthen. I believe I have the experience from a team building aspect, project management, and I'm looking forward to serving the citizens of Nowthen.
Thank you very much. We move to the second question, and this one we direct first to Mary Rainville. What are your goals for the next 4 years for Nowthen?
Most important is that we continue to support the development of our fire department. Sadly, I did not prevail when the council chose to change direction and hire a part-time chief versus a full-time chief. That was always the direction of the council, is to go full-time. We have a 3.5-year-old department. It's the youngest in the state, and a full-time leadership is very important. But we do have many seasoned firefighters, but they are retiring, and we're bringing new firefighters in, and they need the guidance of a full-time chief. Second is to continue lobbying against efforts to remove local authority when it comes to planning and zoning, building standards, land use. It's important that we keep our rural atmosphere, which includes our 5-acre average lot sizes. And it's imperative that residents determine their future in one that reflects their needs. I also want to continue working with city administrator and staff as they work to mechanize the administrative functions within our city to better serve our residents and to continue to help the administrator, support the administrator at his goal of developing a high-quality staff for our community. Continue to work on the recycling center, making that work the best it can for the city. And then as we start to define our building and park standards.
Thank you. And we move to Ken with this same question. What are your goals for the next 4 years from now then?
First and foremost, I'm looking forward to the education process presented by, through training to become more proficient in local government. One of my number one goals would be public safety. Something on that list would include a high volume well for the fire department so tanker trucks can be filled efficiently and quickly. Another thing would be to familiarize myself with projects that have been put off within the city limits of now then and prioritize those, figure out how to raise money to bring those projects to fruition. Another thing would be to increase the tax base in now then. And to do this and not do it at the expense of the existing residents and businesses. So some economic development. And then the other thing that I think is very important, and I feel is lacking within the city of now then, that's more communication with the residents and more transparency from local government here.
Thank you. We move to Cheryl Olson.
What I would like to do with being a council member is education also, like Ken had said. But still to keep the low taxes that everybody comes here for in now then. That's why we came out here. We want to still keep it rural. We also, what I would like to do is we need a little bit more people, the tax base, like Ken was saying, but not to the effect of too many all at once, because we would like to be able to use grants and things like that. We need to get our city to the 5,000 mark because we are a city now. But yet keep the Met Council at bay, which I love that the council did that already. That's awesome. I commend them for that. That was hard, I'm sure. And then, of course, the land use also, to keep that in check and to kind of keep the council doing what they're supposed to do as a city council, and then to keep the administrator to do what he needs to do and what a city clerk needs to do also, and to help them.
Well, thank you. Now we will turn to the questions which were submitted to us from the public. I have to tell you, I have seldom seen as good a group of questions that are city issue specific as what we received from Now Then. So we're going to start with one of the tough topics. And this will go to Ken Glazer first. Ken, question is, Now Then has one of the lower city tax burdens in Anoka County. What part of the city's budget do you foresee increases in the next 4 years? Where do you need to hold the line to keep that tax burden down?
Well, honestly, I think to answer that question, there's more I need to learn about the city budget in order to determine what that outcome is going to be. I think we've enjoyed the benefit of low taxes in Now Then, and we like that. Unfortunately, I foresee, because of current council decisions and past council decisions, that the residents of Now Then may end up having to pay more taxes because of things that have gotten pushed down the road. The expression that I hear quite a bit at council meetings is the can keeps getting kicked down the road and we can't we can't continue to do that. Things are getting will only get more expensive, and we have to, especially from the standpoint of public safety, we really need to think about the residents from that standpoint.
Thank you. Cheryl, I'll just give you kind of the question part of it, which was, what part of the city's budget do you foresee increases in over these next 4 years, and where do we need to hold the line to keep that tax burden low?
Well, like I kind of said before in my other question, was I believe that we need to try to get to the 5,000 so that we can get to the budgets that we need to do, because our roads do need help. And I think if we use federal money that we would be getting for that would be great. But still keep the taxes as low as possible in other areas, so.
Thank you. And Mary Rainville, same to you. What part of the city's budget do you foresee increases in over these next 4 years? And where do we need to hold the line to keep that tax burden low?
It's going to be difficult to keep the tax burden low. We are limited by, as far as revenues that we get from our taxes, probably 18% of your overall tax bill goes to the city. The rest goes to the other agencies. We aren't expected via the Met Council to get to 5,000 until 2050. So that's a long way away. And that only provides us state aid roads, or state aid for our roads. It doesn't help us with anything else. Increases will be in our employee base and our buildings. The personnel costs typically are 80% of any budget, and that is no different in now then. And if we want to keep good quality employees, we have to pay for quality employees. Our buildings are old. You can see there's things here that need to be done, and that would be a place that we'll have to put money in. And we have to look at what our roads are doing. But it's difficult to raise funds.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to what I think is the question we had the most questions received from the public on. It's a bit of a long one, so just listen to the preface on it. The Nowthen City Council and Mayor have known for several years that a new fire chief was needed to be hired by the end of 2024. However, the process was recently upended and prolonged when a majority voted down the previously approved full-time fire chief position. If elected, will you be voting to hire a full-time fire chief or part-time fire chief? And in the future, and this is the compounded part, in the future, what will you do as a city council member to be proactive on issues and move them forward in a timely manner? And we will extend you an extra 15 seconds. This is a kind of a two-part, longer type of question. So first part, where are you at on fire chief? Second, what do you want to do about being proactive on issues and being able to move them forward in a timely manner? And we start with Cheryl Olson.
Okay. I know that they've been having issues with that. Hiring at this point in any city is having issues. There's just not the people out there that they would like, and quality people. But I do know that there's somebody out there, like Mary had said, you know, it's part of the budget as far as money-wise to get quality people with quality money. With that, in effect, is I would try to go more part-time at first to introduce people and see what, you know, what's it all about. And then get them here and actually get them involved and you know, that type of stuff to keep them. It's hard to get a full-time that way. What was the second half of the?
What would you do to be proactive on issues to move them forward in a timely manner?
Well, basically to actually have them just go part-time first. I feel that would be the best.
Thank you. Mary Rainville, same to you. I'm just going to give you the last portions of this. If elected, will you be voting to hire a full-time fire chief or part-time? And in the future, what will you do as a city council member to be proactive on issues and move them forward in a timely manner? And we do the extended time if you need it as well.
Well, I did vote for the full-time fire chief, and I will continue to vote for a full-time fire chief. As I said earlier, our department is 3.5 years old. Our senior firefighters are retiring. We have the need for a full-time leadership. It was what the council had agreed upon 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, and at the very last minute, certain council members chose to, for budget reasons, to go down to part-time. I think that's a poor idea, but that's just my belief, and I'm only one vote. When it comes up in front of us again at the end of March, if I'm on the council, I will continue to vote for a full-time fire chief. Council has not done a good job of acting on things in a timely manner, and I've been part of that. I've tried to help move things along. A new council will always have a learning curve, and we did have one new council member this last time around, and it's a big learning curve if you are not familiar with government and how government works compared to private industry. But I think it's important that we move things along. We have good quality administrative staff that will help us with that and help us to keep on track.
Thank you. King Glazer, the same question goes to you. If elected, will you be voting to hire a full-time fire chief or part-time? And in the future, what will you do as a city council member to be proactive on issues and move them forward in a timely manner?
Based on conversations that I've had with local experts that have decades of experience in the fire protection industry, I would likely be voting for a part-time fire chief. The one thing that is, I've been attending meetings, and if you listen to the staff, the firefighters, when they were given the opportunity to speak to the council, to them, it doesn't matter whether it's a full-time or part-time fire chief. They just want the council to tell the fire department what their plans are and to stick to that plan. And that is something that, to the second part of the question, what would I do to be proactive? And that's, again, the expression that's been used oftentimes at city council meetings is the can keeps getting kicked down the road, and we can't do that. We have to be proactive. We have to serve the citizens of now then and do what's in their best interest.
Thank you very much. The next question, and I will just tell you and the public that we prepare these questions. Oftentimes candidates have already kind of talked about them. This is going to be one of those, but it's related to the first two questions that we've asked you. This goes to Mary Rainville first. Would you be okay with increasing taxes in order to ensure that Nowthen has a proper fire department and other city services?
I would say I'm not okay with raising taxes, but it is something we have to consider. We have a limited tax revenue based on the number of homes we have. Without increasing the number of homes or businesses, we don't have any additional money coming in. So the way to pay for those things is to increase the levy. I mean, my taxes go up just the same as everybody else's, and so I don't like them going up any more than anyone else. But if we want to be able to keep our rural feeling of the 5-acre minimum, not go down to small lots to bring in more homes, we have to live within the tax base that we have. Commercial property, commercial taxes are less. The city receives less from commercial property than they do from residential properties. It used to be vice versa, so it was always good to have a good, strong commercial area, and there's nothing wrong with a good, strong commercial area. But that does not bring in the tax revenues that residents do.
Thank you. Same question goes to King Glazer here. Would you be okay with increasing taxes in order to ensure that Nowthen has a proper fire department and other city services?
As a fiscal conservative, I have to say that I would prefer not to have to raise taxes. But once again, the current council and past councils have put us in a position where that may have to happen. I don't know what that looks like until we get in there. But if we have to raise taxes to properly serve the residents of Nowthen from a public safety standpoint by hiring a fire chief and expanding the fire department, then yes.
Thank you. And Cheryl Olson, Cheryl Olson, you also get that question, which is, would you be okay with increasing taxes in order to ensure Nowthen has a proper fire department and other city services?
Well, as I said before, I'm not for increasing taxes, of course, but, you know, everybody else gets a cost of living every year. So, I mean, I would assume you'd be able to do a little bit of that. Everybody kind of expects that also, but not a huge increase, of course. I would have to look in more as far as how many times the fire department has been sent out. I have not done that, so I will look into that. And if I would like to keep, you know, the 5 acres, like Mary was saying, you know, because we want to still be rural, but I think we need to look at the laws of how we go about doing the 5 acres. I think there's some discrepancy in that type of stuff. I've heard some, not the last council meeting, but there's been some discrepancy on how to do that. So I would like to try. The council actually makes the laws to do that, so.
Thank you. We're going to change gears here as we turn to Ken Glazer with the next question. Do you support home-based businesses in Nowthen? Please explain why or why not.
Well, I am a home-based business, so yes, I do. And I think, you know, and it's not just home-based business. Since 2020 and what we experienced with the pandemic and COVID, so many more people now have the opportunity to work from home. And, you know, so as long as residents are operating their business within the ordinances, you know, set forth by the Planning and Zoning Commission and enforced by the City Council, I'm fully in favor of people having home-based businesses in Nowthen.
Thank you. And Cheryl Olson, same to you. Do you support home-based businesses in Nowthen? Please explain why or why not.
Yes, I do. We also have a home-based business. When we first started here, I did the photography and went through when we were just a township and had to, you know, put all my letters out and everything, trying to get people to say, you know, is this okay? How many people? So the conditional use permit, and you have to stay within that. I know there's some people that think that the conditional use permit, I can do anything now. That's not the way that is written. You have to keep up on it. So like Ken said, you know, would like home businesses but to make sure that the rules are being followed with that.
Thank you. And Mary Rainville, you get the last one on this question. Do you support home-based businesses in Nowthen? Please explain why or why not.
I do, and I'm apparently I don't have a home-based business like my two friends here. But, you know, Nowthen is a unique community. They call us a bedroom community. Most people live here, you sleep here, you go elsewhere to work. Or, if you're fortunate, you have a business in your home. You just have to make sure that those businesses aren't a deterrent to the neighbors. And so you have to be careful of what the business is, the traffic, the trucks going in and out, if that's the case. But when you apply for an interim use permit, you're given the rules and regulations that you have to follow. Sometimes they can be changed based on whatever the reason is, but you have stipulations that you have to abide by. And as long as you abide by that, you'll be a good neighbor and shouldn't have any trouble. But we do have a lot of home-based businesses in Nowthen.
Thank you. Cheryl Olson will be moving back to tougher questions, and you get the first answer on this one.
I'm ready.
Administering a city comes with challenges. This questioner states, Nowthen has a recent history of city administrative staff resigning, citing harassment and working in understaffed conditions, and they reference 2018 and 2021. Another personnel issue currently faces the council. What measures should the council take to improve working conditions for city staff?
That is a good question. First off, nobody should have to work in an environment that is stressful. Everybody wants to go to a job that they love. And to me, you have to have maybe the two people that are having issues, somebody be a moderator, and help to hash out what's going on, because there's something underneath that maybe isn't, maybe it's family life for somebody else. You don't know. For the understaffing, I know that it's hard right now, like I said before, to get people to work. We're coming off of COVID still, and it's hard. They don't want to go to a job. They want to stay home. So that's part of the challenge too.
Thank you. Mary Rainville, we ask it to you. I'll kind of just cut through it and say, another personnel issue currently faces the council. What measures should the council take to improve working conditions for city staff?
I believe the working conditions for our city staff are good. There was a current issue by, our attorneys have advised us not to speak to it. It's a public employee issue. We cannot speak to it. As far as the employees resigning in 2018, they resigned, they filed for unemployment, they lost their unemployment cases based on the fact that the administrative law judge did not agree with them that there was a hostile work environment. And the interim administrator came in and gave us a long list of things that weren't being done by those employees. And our new staff has turned that all around. I have been fully supportive of our staff. I think that they're doing a wonderful job, and I will continue to support our staff.
Thank you. Ken Glazer again, just giving you the end part of it here. Another personnel issue currently faces the council. What measures should the council take to improve working conditions for city staff?
Well, first and foremost, I think in order to empower the employees, one thing that has to happen is employees need to receive proper annual reviews. And it's my understanding that that's possibly something that's not currently happening. So that needs to happen first and foremost. Second thing, the council needs to establish goals for each of the employees, or say establish goals for the city administrator, and then the city administrator sets goals out for the staff, whether it's the guys working out on the street or whether it's the staff working in the office. And we need to then empower them and get out of their way so that they can do their job.
Thank you. We'll go back to the budget. I believe, Mary Rainville, you're first up for this question. The City Council recently proposed an increase of 10% in property taxes, which is about $80 annually on average for 2025. Is that an adequate measure to cover the 2025 city expenses? Please explain your answer.
The council did vote just under a 10% increase. We've had very small increases over the last few years, and that has come back to hurt us in that we've now have a 10%. I believe the budget is good. You never know what surprise you're going to get during the year that could throw a wrench into it, but I think that we've adequately funded what it is that we need to do as a city, whether it be our roads, our administrative staff, any building improvements and equipment purchases that we're making.
Thank you. We go to Ken Glazer. The proposed a little under 10% preliminary property tax increase. Is the $80 annually on average an adequate measure to cover the 2025 city expenses? And please explain your answer.
Well, going back to one of the previous questions where I mentioned that I'm going to need to learn, there's more that I need to learn about the budget in order to, adequately answer some of those questions. So to know that, to say that $80 per resident is going to be enough, I'm not sure about that. So I think we have a lot of work to do. The new council will have a lot of work to do to reassure the residents of Now Then that we're being fiscally responsible and move forward with future projects.
Thank you. And Cheryl Olson, you get the last crack at this one. The roughly $80 annual increase per household from the proposed preliminary tax increase, is that an adequate measure to cover the 2025 city expenses? And please explain your answer.
I'm not sure what the budget was before. I would have to look into it, just like Ken had said. I did go to the budget meeting. It was long and intense, I do have to admit. And being it the first time, it was a little daunting. Again, I would like to try to keep it below that because, people don't normally get a 10% increase in their pay. But I do understand that there are some things that are going to have to be paid, like the chief of police and things like that they're wanting to do. The annual, that's just a roundabout figure for everybody. So I would like to try to keep it a little bit lower than that.
Thank you. These next two questions are clearly related to each other, but they have very different nuances. Ken Glazier, you'll get this first of the two. And the question reads, some questioners wrote that they don't want Now Then turned into an overdeveloped suburb like Ramsey or Andover. What is your plan for the 5-acre lot average? Or another way that it was expressed to us is how or do you move Now Then into the 21st century with its 2.5 acre minimum lot size, which comes with revenue implications for city services versus supporting residential business growth? This is another one of those kind of complicated two-part type of questions. So again, we'll give you, if needed, an extra 15 seconds on this answer as well.
Could you repeat the second half of the question,
I can repeat
please?
the second half, won't count against your time. Or another way that it was expressed is how or do you move Now Then into the 21st century with its 2.5 acre minimum lot size, which comes with revenue implications for city services versus support of residential/business growth?
Well, as I guess I'll call myself a hobby farmer, we do support the 5 acre average. We live on a county road and we have a development behind us that we get along with very well, and that they have 5 acre averages. I think my neighbor behind me has 2.5 to maybe 3 acres, and then he's got somebody across the street from him with 8 to 10 acres. So that can work, those types of developments. Do we move Now Then into the 21st century? I hope not. I hope that's not necessary in order for us to survive. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens as far as delivering services cost effectively to the residents of Now Then, and trying to keep taxes as low as we possibly can.
Thank you. Cheryl Olson, again, I know it's complicated. I'll try and give you both parts of it here. First was, what is your plan for the 5 acre lot average? Or another way that it was stated to us is how or do you move Now Then into the 21st century with its 2.5 acre minimum lot size, which comes with revenue implications for city services versus the support of residential/business growth?
Okay, I would still go with the 5-acre lots. We still have a lot of land that is, being farmed and things like that, when we kind of want to keep it that way, but there are some that are being sold. And, some people want to get into the 21st century because they feel that they want to, house prices are up, land prices are up, they want more, so they're wanting to go towards the 2.5 acres. But if they do that, then you're looking at, then they have to put in water, sewer, where everybody right now has their own, they're self-sufficient, and that's what Now Then wants. I have the same thing where I had a big plot of land behind me, and we had 2 houses go in, and then 2 houses on the other side of the road, but they are all more than 5+ acres, which is, to me, the best.
Okay. Mary Rainville, you get the last of this question, which is again compounded. What is your plan for the 5-acre lot average, or another way that it was put was, how or do you move Now Then into the 21st century with its 2.5 acre minimum lot size, which comes with revenue implications for city services versus support of residential/business growth?
Well, Now Then has an 8 for 40 in their zoning rules. So for a 40-acre lot, you can have a total of 8 homes. It has to be a 5-acre average, so as Ken said, some could be 2.5, some could be 10, some could be 12, some could be 5. But what we're finding with most of our larger lot splits, the property owners are only going 3 to 4 lots in that 40 lot because they see the value of a larger lot and selling that to people. A 2.5 acre lots bring difficulty because because we are on septic and well, you have to have 2 areas for a septic system. And in my case, my land, I have 40 acres, but a quarter of it is buildable because it's low and there's water. So you have to have a certain amount of area to be able to put into a home. New homes mean new roads, which means more public works, more equipment, more salt, more sand. And I will say that I've yet to have a resident come up and say, I want a bunch of little homes across from my house. So I don't see us getting there because, again, we're on septic and well, and that makes building difficult in small areas.
Thank you. I said that this had a related question to it, and this one will go to Cheryl first. Now Then likes to pride itself on being rural. Please define what rural will look like in 20 years in Now Then, given that it is located in a growing metro county, and a recent Anoka County Housing and Development Study says that the county, not the city, the county needs more than 18,000 new housing units by 2030. So again, this one will stay to a minute, but it has 2 parts to it. Tell us what you think rural looks like, and just recognize that there's this little thing out there that the county is looking to add over 18,000 homes by 2030.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's going to be difficult. I would have to look into why the county wants that, or are they being pressured by other entities that way? I'd have to look into that more, because that's one of the reasons why we became a city, so that we don't get pushed around. We were being annexed with our taxes and things like that too. All the other cities were taking our areas because we were still a township. To me, rural means we want to be self-sufficient. We want to be 5 acres. We want to wave to our neighbors that's, at the mailboxes. But yeah, I would have to look into that more as far as what the county wants.
Thank you. Mary Rainville, same to you again. how would you define rural, what it will look like in 20 years in Nowthen? And keeping in mind that there is the Anoka County Housing and Development Study that suggests that the county needs to add more than 18,000 new housing units by 2030.
Well, as I stated earlier, the Met Council doesn't expect us to hit 5,000 until 2050, so even 20 years down the road. I don't see a lot of change, and basically because we're still the 5-acre average, we're on septic and well. We don't have transportation here. People have to have vehicles to be able to get to work and back, and you have to have a dependable vehicle. We don't have mass transit. We don't have buses. We are self-sufficient here. And again, I just think it'd be very difficult to increase in a large enough capacity to help us in this short period of time. But again, the residents want to keep the city rural. We are no longer under jurisdiction of the Met Council. And if we can prevail in keeping the legislature out of our backyard, we can stay how we want to be, which is what our residents want, is a larger acreage, the hobby farms, and people like to see that.
Thank you. Ken Glazer, you also get the question on defining what rural would look like in 20 years. And now then, recognizing that the county is looking to need to add more than 18,000 homes by 2030.
Well, I think I'm going to borrow something that Isaac Scholes, a gentleman that's on the fire department, said a couple weeks ago, and based on where I live, it doesn't look very rural. Now, we still live we have a hobby farm, and we enjoy that, but we live on a very busy road. And I think we will continue to work to maintain the zoning of 5-acre averages. But I think our roads are just going to get more busy. Parts of Nowthen will always stay more rural, just because they're out of the traffic pattern. But the communities around us are the ones that are continuing to grow, and that's where a majority of the traffic is coming from. So I think rural is going to just get a little bit more busy over the next 20 years because of that growth outside of our city.
Thank you. This next question kind of relates back to internal affairs within the city, and it asks, should an outside resource be consulted to help the city council and mayor work more effectively and professionally with the city staff? Please explain your answer. And Mary Rainville, you get that first.
It is difficult to operate as a council when you are under open meeting laws and you can't have conversations with other council members. And so when you come to a meeting, it's the first time you've seen things, first time you've had an opportunity to talk about it. And without having strong people on the council, it can be dominating. One or two people can dominate the council. The council did ask to have League of Minnesota Cities to come in and help us talk about whose lane is what, who does what, how does that get accomplished? Depending on the turnover in January, it may be a good idea to have them in, and it's just some of a learning experience for new council members, because learning to be on a council and learning all the intricacies of how a city works can be difficult.
Thank you. Ken Glazer, same. Should an outside resource be consulted to help the city council and mayor work more effectively and professionally with the city staff? And please explain your answer.
Well, I think it would be beneficial. The challenge is there has to be a willingness from both parties to participate in the process. So I think Mary Rainbow just said, if there's going to be a little bit, at least some change, because we have an open seat on the council, and depending on how much change there is, I think that when that opportunity presents itself, I think it would be beneficial for both council and staff.
I'm sorry.
That's quite right.
Good. Cheryl Olson, you get to wrap up that question for us. Do you need me to repeat it?
No, good.
Okay.
I'm good. I think it kind of goes back to leadership and knowing who is supposed to do what. And I think that's maybe part of the issue. We're a smaller city and everybody wants to help, but I think sometimes, there's got to be one person that says, no, this is this for this person, this is for this person. But yet, in the company that I'm in and things that I do at my husband's business too, is there's processes to things. So sometimes maybe to have somebody come in for one day and see from a third party outlook that it might be beneficial to have them oversee.
Very good. Just to check, I think I've had all three of you answer this one, correct? Okay. Final question, and I'll be honest, the final question on the sheet, I kind of feel like everybody's hit it all night long. I'll give you the question, but it's on a theme we've been talking about with housing and how that works with the city. I'll give it to you. Do you want to keep Nowthen country, or are you interested in turning Nowthen into a city like Ramsey with many multi-family structures? Thought it sounded like a good wrap-up question when I put it on the sheet, but I feel like you've already covered it. Do you want to take a shot? Ken, you're actually first up on it. Anything you want to add from what you've had before?
Well, honestly, if Nowthen were to grow into a city like Ramsey, I'd move to Mora because, I'm probably always going to have horses. I'm always going to have dogs. We're always going to have, probably more chickens than we should. My goal is to keep Nowthen as country as possible. But like I said I don't know if it's the last question or question before, the challenge that we face is just the additional traffic that we're seeing from the surrounding communities that are growing around us.
Thank you. Cheryl, do you want to keep it country? Do you want to be looking at multifamily units? What's your thoughts on this one?
Well, country. When I first moved out here, I only had one stop sign to get to my work. I now have 4 with a light where it wasn't there before. I work in Ramsey and I see the growth there, and it's like it's pushing, the limit as far as, but that's what Ramsey wanted. Yeah, country all the way. I'm going to stick with that.
Okay, and Mary?
Country. Fortunately, our zoning ordinances do not allow, we don't offer multi-level structures, and so that kind of helps eliminate that. Though, if we are not successful in prohibiting the legislature from making changes, we may be forced into things, which I don't agree with. It's a one-size-fits-all, and that type of a one-size-fits-all does not work. Again, especially we're well and septic, and so multi-family homes, multi-level homes would not do well. And now then, we'd have to buy a new fire truck because we don't have a ladder, and they weren't going to pay for that if they changed that. So we would have had to buy a ladder at probably $800,000. So I want to be rural. And Ken is right. The people that live on 5, 22, and 47, they do have traffic, and I don't know what you can do about that. But
Okay.
in Cleary.
I'm actually going to go off script because Cheryl, you gave me what I think is a fun question to end up with, and you described moving out here with only one stop light, I think you said,
Stop
or was
sign.
it stop sign? Coming across on Viking, we now have our first roundabout that
Yeah.
has gone in. So, quick responses across the line. Roundabouts in Nowthen, yes or no? And if you want to add a reason why, go ahead. Cheryl, yes or no? And if you want to add a reason, go ahead.
I say yes because, like Ken was saying, people are speeding like crazy. You have to slow down for the roundabout. Some people think they're a hindrance, but they're not. They work. As long as you keep doing them, it gets easier. There's a lot of people that just, they can't stand them, but they do work with not having crashes.
And there's only yield signs. Mary, roundabouts, yes or no, and thoughts on it?
Roundabouts are a very good way of controlling traffic. It makes it much safer than a four-way stop sign. Stop signs don't mean people stop.
No.
Sorry to say. But any roundabout that would go in would be on a county road. So now then would not have really much input into it. They'd probably ask us to pay for part of something, but it's a county decision, or if it was on 47, it would be a state decision, but I don't see them on any of our now-then roads. But eventually they've talked about here, they've talked about on Cleary and 22. So they will come, but it's a county decision.
Okay.
Not a city decision.
Okay, that's a fair take on it. And Ken, your thoughts? Roundabouts,
I prefer them over a four-way stop. Like Mary said, I find them to be safer. For a lot of people, that have never been to Ireland, they just need to get used to the fact that we have roundabouts. That was the first place I experienced them. So I'm fully in favor of them. The challenge with roundabouts is sometimes, it takes more space to create a roundabout. And so that objection has to be overcome.
yeah, just so we don't get those Italian ones with like 6 lanes around. Kind of
Sure.
thing.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. All right, on that note, we have to do our closing statements, and because of the way I threw the extra question in, Mary, you actually get to lead off with your closing statement first.
Okay. Well, again, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters and their volunteers for tonight's forum. I've been honored to serve as your council member and respectfully ask for your support. I believe the experiences I've gained in my professional and governmental positions, along with my community involvement, have provided the experiences needed for this position. As residents, we expect value for our tax dollars and want assurances that policies, procedures, and programs focus on providing quality services at reasonable costs. Providing fiscally responsible budgeting is especially important. During my time on the council, my goal has been to introduce ideas which enhance services within budget or reduce expenses without compromising services. And as a city, we must continually work towards an open dialogue between the council staff and the residents. We truly have, and we've spoken about it a lot tonight, we truly have a little pocket of heaven here, and we need to diligently work to keep it. I'm humbled to have the support I've received, and I respectfully ask for your vote on November 5th or earlier if you're an early voter. Thank you.
Mary, thank you. We move to Ken Glazer.
Well, thank you again to the League of Women Voters for having this forum for us this evening. This isn't a decision that I entered into lightly, and that's because when I set out to do something, I put everything I have into it. And so I want to assure that the residents of Now Then that will carry over into this role as well. My goal here is to serve the residents of Now Then and do what's best for them, to consult with the constituents and fulfill their wishes when possible. I just want to go back. So my goals are to make Now Then a safer place to live, a more efficient place to live, and create an environment of transparency and integrity that the residents of Now Then can be proud of.
Thank you. And we'll wrap up closing statements with Cheryl Olson.
Thank you for the Women of League voters. This was very interesting. It was my first time doing this, so thank you. It was a lot more comfortable than I thought it was going to be. I care about our city and its people. I want to use common sense in all that I do as a person and in business, and I want to bring that to Now Then. So fiscally responsible and not try to raise taxes exorbitantly, and try to keep the roundabouts out. So I ask for your vote.
Thank you. And I'll wrap up just for the public, I will be speaking off camera to finish up tonight. Thank you again to all of our candidates for sharing their views with the public through your participation tonight in the Meet the Candidates Forum. It certainly appears to voters of Nowthen that you have three very fine residents seeking your vote to fill the 2 seats. We want you to be very cognizant of using your right to vote this year. The League of Women Voters has supported informed voting for over 100 years. In the year 2024, we have many options for how to vote. Please exercise your right to vote. For more election information, visit the Minnesota Secretary of State's website at minvotes.gov or go to the League of Women Voters United States website, I was informed between our sessions, for the process Vote 411. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you.